Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome to episode 17 of Climbing the Ladder. I'm your host ChanmanV, and co-hosting with me as always is John Clark of CSN. What's up, John?
Not much. How are you?
Good, good. And Mark, CEO of Quantic Gaming. How's it going, Mark?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good, good. And today we got a special show. Obviously, you noticed that we're having a night show tonight, and the main reason for that is because we have Kim Hammar, aka QuanticSaSe, on the show, who's in Korea. So definitely wanted to have a reasonable time for him also. So that's what we're doing the late show tonight. What's up, Kim?
Hey, I just woke up, so I'm a bit tired, but I will try to get through it.
Okay. Yeah, hopefully we'll try to make it as fun as possible for you, man. And last but not least, we got Erik Lonnquist, aka GoSuDoa, the caster for OGN. Is that the right? That's right, right? OGN, yeah, caster for OGN, and I think a lot of people know you from your casting work with IPL. So big thanks for you guys to coming on the show, and I'm pretty excited about just our discussion today. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Thanks, man. I'm glad to be here.
All right. So, guys, I kind of want to start off with
They're saying in
yeah.
the chat that everybody's voices but yours is low.
Really? Okay. Let me just turn myself low. Guys, turn up the volume and I'll turn myself low.
Pump up the volume. Pump up the volume.
Volumes, man. I just did a sound check too and it sounded well. How's that sound, guys? Sound okay now? Okay. Well, anyways, try to turn it up as much as possible. I can't turn it up anymore, so actually, let me do this. Actually, this will work. Sorry about that.
Hello, hello.
Test.
There we go. This is it. This is
Better?
it. Okay,
All right.
That's better. That should be better for everybody. Sorry about that, guys.
Awesome.
Good day.
All right, let's start off tonight. I wanted to talk a little bit about the IEM event last week, and we typically don't talk too much about current events, but kind of want to talk a little bit about that one, just because I know John had some qualms with the event, and in general, I thought it was a pretty cool event, and wanted to see how you guys, what your opinions were on how it went and how it was run and just the results. So why don't we start off with you, John? Actually.
why would you start with me? Actually, the production value was excellent. I mean, ESL's been doing things for a long time, over 10 years now. They've got it down pat, really, as far as live events go, and a lot of their online stuff. So I thought the production value was really good. I thought the event had just about the right amount of drama. It was good. I may have created a little bit of drama myself, but because I disagreed with how they seeded people into the brackets. But other than that, I thought the tournament itself went really well.
Yeah, did everybody else watch it? Erik,
I
Mark,
saw a little bit of it, but I was actually in Minnesota visiting family all week, including this last weekend. So I caught some of the matches, but not very much at all, really.
How about you, Kim?
I watched like the interesting games. I didn't watch the finals because there were no protesting.
Protoss. Yeah, the Protoss kind of got knocked out kind of early. Not early, but I don't think that. Wait, it was Zerg and Terran in the semis, right? So the last day, yeah. But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me was just a lot of the foreigner versus Korean matchups, and kind of how they did, and particularly how Nurtio and Vertex ended up doing, and Nurtio ended up 3-0ing like MC, like he made it look super easy too. So it kind of made me think about a little bit about whether the gap between I guess the foreigners and the Koreans is closing a bit or not. Like, what are y'all's opinions on that? Why don't we start with you, Sase?
Well, I don't think it's closing at all. It's just getting harder and harder.
Mm-hmm.
It's just there is some people in Europe who can play well, and they showed it this weekend. But I just think the Koreans are getting better and better compared to the Europeans.
I see.
Yeah,
I definitely agree with Sase. I feel like the gap is getting bigger and not smaller, and you will have a couple non-Koreans that'll come into probably most tournaments and do pretty well, maybe more than we saw in Brood War. But overall, I feel like, especially now that the GSL players are going to start to be pushing themselves because all the Kespa guys are coming in, really starting to play. I feel like that gap, unfortunately, is going to start to increase a little bit more.
All right. Well, yeah, that's definitely the Keswick guys have just been making a super push recently too. With the, I think they had like 11 game or 11 series streak or whatever against the GSL guys. So pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty cool to see them start to come up and like take games. I feel like overall the GSL players are still much better as a group,
Yep.
But the Keston players are catching up so fast. I can't wait to get out to Korea to start doing OSL. Like, we're gonna be starting with round of 16, so we're gonna find out like right off the bat, who's gonna be better. It's gonna be really interesting, actually.
Right. Okay, good deal. Yeah, I just wanted to briefly talk about that because obviously it was like a 5-day event last week, and our friends over at ESL and Carmack was running the event. So, but this. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to ask, do you guys think, though, you'd mentioned that you thought that the gap is getting larger. Do you think in general the gap is getting larger, but do you feel like there are some, I hate calling them this, but there's some foreigners or non-Koreans that are closing their own gaps? They're getting better.
Foreigners. Them damn foreigners is what you're talking about, John.
Yeah.
Well, there can be. I mean, there's going to be some players, I think, that are going to come up and definitely be able to go toe-to-toe with the Koreans. I mean, we have one of them with us on the show right now. I mean, Sase is easily one of the best non-Korean players out there. So
I live in Korea for like...
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah, we'll be discussing that on this show. I don't think that matters as much.
Let's get someone else then. Sorry, Sase.
Get out of here. No, I'm just kidding. But, all right. Well, why don't we kind of transition into misconceptions? What we always start the show off, which is, if you have any, particularly the guests, if you have any misconceptions you think are happening in the industry that you think should be cleared up, and a lot of things, like the community just has wrong right now. Anything like that you have, maybe you guys kind of have on y'all's minds that you might want to discuss here?
Misconceptions.
Yeah.
That the community might have about just the game or about
anything,
players?
Just anything, casters, players, the industry in general.
Nothing strikes out. Let me check Reddit. I bet there's something there. Hold on. I'm going to StarCraft Reddit. Can find some
How about you, Kim?
misconceptions
Anything?
there pretty easily.
No, not really, but I think Naneva got way too much shit for when he said like JYP touched him or whatever. I think it was not JYP's fault, but I think tournaments should really shape up when it comes to players' conditions, because we always get so horrible conditions, or not always, but sometimes, and then if we complain about it, we get shit for it. So I think tournaments should shape up.
Yeah. Were there rules in place for that? Because I was actually getting asked by some people, actually by Violet's manager or the CEO of CSN. He wanted us to check to see if there were rules about players approaching other players after a match or during a match to talk with them. I know this has come up before. Were there rules? Do you think there were rules in place for that?
I don't know, but they don't check the rules, obviously, since it happened. They should have like an area where only players who has to play can walk into. Like they have their match right now or whatever, and then they should have like some people guarding on each side, so they make sure there is only players who has to play right now walking in. There is, I think, maybe only MLG has like that. But they are not that strict because you only have to have the gamers ban. So
yeah, there were a lot of people in the player area in the MLGs, right? It's not until recently that they've been trying to be better about that, right?
Yeah, but they can't really check who is playing and who is not playing, because the guards are not working for MLG. They are working for the convention center
right.
or event.
Sounds
Yeah,
like they need actual admins to be a part of that process. People that actually know what the hell's going on with the tournament, so that they don't allow players into that area.
From the events that I've been to, and I'm not just talking about IPL, of course. I've been to a lot of different events from a lot of different organizers right now, and I agree that there's not enough pre-planning done for the conditions for the players, for stuff like, rules set in place for players approaching other players, all that kind of thing. I mean, stuff like I remember at IPL 3, I think it was, maybe, the table height was a problem for the players.
Oh,
and I
wow.
mean, I know for myself, like, I mean, and I'm not even a pro gamer at all, but like, if I'm playing and the table's the wrong height, it gets really, really painful for my wrists. So the idea of like imagining trying to play 3 days, with something like that, that's going to be a problem. So just to use that as an example, I mean, there's a lot of pre-planning that needs to be done, I think, in future tournaments, and to a certain extent that applies to casters a little bit too. I mean, I've been to events where we didn't really know where we're supposed to be. We didn't know, when we were supposed to go on, who was casting with who, just a lot of mix-ups and stuff like that. They didn't have stuff like casters obviously talk a lot. We need stuff for our throats and things like that. And I've just kind of gotten into the habit of bringing stuff with me to use at events to keep my throat, doing well, because I know the event probably isn't going to think ahead of time to provide anything. It's kind of funny, like the best event I was ever at for that was actually the GESL at Cal Poly Pomona. They treated the casters so well. It was amazing, and I heard the players really had a good time too. Like the players I talked to, the Muslim Machine, all those guys really enjoyed it. So, like whoever, you should, like if tournament organizers are out there, they should get in touch with the guys from the GESL as far as how to take care of players and casters at an event. I know that event had all sorts of other problems, but as far as that went, they did the best I've ever seen.
You can add me on Skype.
Did I already? Maybe I have.
No, I'm just saying. We, as far as the players went, and making sure that stuff went well, the SoCal guys definitely had a lot to do with it. But because CSN had been at other events, actually the one with Quantic at the Lone Star Clash, we making sure they all had their own computer, that was kind of key, and just some of those things, just taking care of the players the best you can, because they're there to make things run, to bring in the people to watch, and if they're not happy, then ain't nobody happy.
Also, a lot of tournaments these days got like very bad computers. I think the only tournament that has been good this year is the Red Bull LAN and Asus ROG. I think all other tournaments I went to has had laggy computers.
Really?
Oh yeah,
That's
computers are a
crazy.
huge problem at a lot of events. Absolutely. I was at an event very recently where the main player computers were having some frame rate issues, and I'm like, all right, well, what are the specs? And they're like, well, this and this and this, and 4 gigabytes of RAM. And I'm like, wait, what? Seriously? Just 4 gigabytes of RAM for this computer for like the main stage for this room. So we got that changed right away, but they bumped it up to 12. But the fact that I would have to even check into it and ask and have that happen really kind of bothered me a lot. So again, it's all that pre-planning. Needs to be a lot more pre-planning in events.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty crazy, given that, I mean, I feel like a lot of these tournaments have, a sponsor that's basically, a computer manufacturer. As
Mhm.
so
I
how does
gotta
that happen? That's crazy.
It's more like the admins don't know shit about playing the game. So, like at the WCS Sweden, for example, it was like the tournament I was most excited for this year. And then I come there and the admins are like, yeah, we tried all the computers yesterday in unit tester, they are fine, they don't like anything. We tried it on the highest settings, then I sit down, I play a game, it lags like fuck. I ask them to change the computer, they change, the next computer lags like fuck, and I do this. I changed computers in WCS Sweden 4 or 5 times, and all are laggy, and then one computer guy, he just looks at the computer and he says like, fuck, these computers, they're not for playing games, they're for working, they just rebuilt them. So it's like,
Oh my god.
yeah, it was like working computers, and then I got confirmed from a player who, they took the computers from the stage from Inferno Online, and a player who plays there a lot, he said, yeah, this computer sucks. The ones in the main array is better. So, like, that's a huge scandal, but it didn't come up, and like they didn't fix it during the event, even though I had to wait for like 4 hours. I think, I don't know, what should players do in that condition? Should I play with like extremely low FPS, or should I just say fuck it and go home? Or I don't know. I get so depressed every time I have to go to an event, and the computers are bad.
You know, that brings up an interesting point, because being a tournament director, I mean, you know, that's something that I know that we would always look into, is like making sure that, well, one, I know there's been events where there's been like 5 different computer setups, 5 different computers with 5 different specs. That's really, really bad. But one thing that could be a suggestion for now, at least, is that your team managers, those are the sorts of questions that they should be asking organizations that are running events. Because I think that the organizations aren't held, there's not enough responsibility on them to make sure that those things are taken care of. And because no one asks the question, or no one, you know, says, well, I'm going to make sure that if I'm going to send my guy to this tournament, that these things are taken care of. Now, not being like prima donna and like expecting a bunch of shit, but just saying, okay, what are the computers that they're going to be playing on? You know, are they each going to have their own computer? Things like that. I think that if the managers do you know, a little bit more due diligent as far as making sure that those things are taken care of, then I think the organizers will be like, okay, we better make sure our shit's straight, you know. So that might help a little bit too. But obviously the organizers need to do a better job at it, period.
The organizers, like...
Right, but what I'm saying is, one thing that can help is that the managers can demand that these things are taken care of. I mean, if they don't hear it, if no one ever hears it, like he said, you know, who do I go tell? You know, if nothing gets said about it until, you know, 3 weeks later, then it doesn't matter at that point.
Right.
At the it's like at the actual event, there's not a lot that can be done. You know, the computer's already there. They have limited resources. They can't change anything right there. But you know, after the event, I feel like it's kind of weird. Like, I know people like to sometimes get after players about complaining about events, but I feel like sometimes players don't complain enough, you know? And I feel like casters don't complain enough either, you know, about this type of thing, because there's so many events where you're like, oh, well, we've got a lot of lag here, guys. Hopefully there's no disconnects. Hopefully there's no, you know, frame rate issues that affect the game. And you're like, well, it's already affecting the game if it's happening, right? So hopefully there's more complaining, but not just, you know, complaining. Hopefully there's actual constructive, you know, something happening with that. And I think it'll probably get better. I mean, to a certain extent, even though we've been doing this for a couple of years now, the organizers, I still feel like, are kind of new to everything. A lot of major organizers only have live events like 2-3 times a year. I mean, obviously things like IEM, MLG, they have more, but a lot of the other ones don't have as many, and they're still kind of figuring things out to a certain extent. So hopefully all the computer specs will improve, because that is a big problem right now. But yeah, if it happens, not much you can do about it at the event, but I feel like players and casters should definitely let the event know, you know, afterwards, that they need to change that for next time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's news to me. That's that's a little surprising. But how about, well, at this point, why don't we kind of try to transition into some of the topic points that we have set for the show. And again, a lot of these topics for viewers that are just watching the show for the first time, they're angled towards either Kim or Erik, but the whole point of it is to really have an open discussion, so anybody can chime in during the topics. But we're going to start off with Kim, your topics here, and the first thing I really want to ask you about is, you know, you in the past you've been you were a Warcraft 3 pro, right? That's kind of how you started off, I think, in esports, and you know, obviously you've transitioned into StarCraft 2 since, right? And I kind of want to get your kind of thoughts on really that process of really, you know, transitioning from a pro and, you know, a top level pro in a, you know, one game, and then having to transition to a new game, and how long that process really takes.
Actually, I didn't really transition. I played after I finished Warcraft, I played poker, so
Okay.
I had like almost 2 years off.
Oh, okay.
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 Just one. Can the guy who is typing stop typing or mute his mic? The one with the blue switches. Okay, he doesn't want to admit. Okay, anyway.
No, it was me. It was
It was-
me.
it
I'm
was
sorry.
Mark.
Cherry Brown's right here.
Mark.
Okay.
Shut the hell up, Mark.
I finished Warcraft in the end of 2008, and then I played poker until I think September, October 2010, and then I got into StarCraft, and I think it took me like uh, a month to beat the best players in Europe, and then like maybe 6 months or something to be like consistent. So
A month to be the best player. That's a real quick ascension there. That's cool. So you played poker for a while. So how was that?
easier than Warcraft, or it was easier to make money than Warcraft, but it was more easier than StarCraft, but it was more boring. So that's like why I switched. I like StarCraft way more than poker at that time.
So did you have like 3 screens and like 20 games going at once? That type of thing?
I just had one screen, but I still had 20 games.
Okay. Wow, that's cool. That's cool. So for for Warcraft 3, when you were playing Warcraft 3, you played a while in China, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, most of the time.
How was that? I mean, obviously you moved over there from your home, right? And
Yeah.
you played there for a while too. So kind of talk to us about playing in China versus playing in Korea. Is there a big difference?
I was mostly living alone when I lived in China, so there is a bit of difference, but it was compared to Europe at that time. I think it was very good to play in China because you could always find practice no matter what time, and there was no ladder, so you just had to find people. But I could always find it in China. But I think it's way more serious now in Korea with team houses, and you see people playing all the time, so you get motivation to play. So I guess and I play more hours now. I think even though I played a lot in Warcraft, I think I play more now.
I see. And like the practice that like right now, is it mostly ladder, or I mean, are you just playing customs with guys in the house, or like what is your practice regimen like?
I just play like no, I played some customs when some of the people wanted to practice for a match last week. But except for that, it's only custom ladder.
I see. So for me, it's like if the majority of your practice is ladder, then I mean, is it really worth going to Korea just for that? I mean,
I think one ladder game in Korea equals like 10 in Europe, so I guess it's worth it.
I see. Yeah, just the quality of the practice.
Yeah, because in Europe you get so many like bad players and stupid players and blah 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 players. So.
Chris, we brought this up before, and the more I think about it, I mean, because for Sase, this worked. Going to Korea worked, and for others it may not. Desro had mentioned that for him, he wouldn't do it over again. He felt like he could get the same sort of practice regimen back home. And then for people like Violet, who basically left Korea and came here, I think it says a lot more about how it's different for really everyone. More so than I had thought before. There was always this talk, like if you really wanted to be the best, you went to Korea and you played on the Korean ladders. And you experienced that environment. But I think for some, that's just not the way that they improve. For some, it's not even ladders. For Violet, it was really all about always playing tournaments every day, 4 or 5, 3 or 4 online tournaments.
Right.
So,
I mean, I think it's. I don't know. I hate to say this because it's kind of like I'm sure there's. I don't know enough about StarCraft to say this really, so I'm not qualified to say this. Let me say that before I even say it. But I think that for some reason it seems like Zerg players are held to different rules. Like, if you want to be the best Terran, I mean, there's a lot of really good Terran players in Korea. you know. So if you want to play like a lot of top Terran, I would imagine Korea is probably like the best place to be. I don't know as a Protoss how that works, you know. I'm sure Sasa could talk about that more than I could, but I know historically Protoss has been kind of a tough race, but now it's kind of getting better.
I think it's obvious if you wanna become the best, you have to be in Korea. It's like if you don't play the best players, it's like very hard to become the best. So all the talk about you are not improving in Korea and so on, it's just bullshit to me. I think Destro was not at like the highest level in USA when he went to Korea, so maybe that's why it wouldn't have helped him. I can't even speak English when.
No. We get what you mean.
It's if you're not at the highest level in where you are before you come to Korea. I think it's harder to improve. But like for a player like Cass, I think he can't improve at all more in Europe now. He's like as good as he can become. So for him, it would be really needed to go to Korea.
I think the same thing could be said about Illusion to a certain degree as well. He's just not going to get. He needs to go to Korea. So
with your with you being in the house, right? The Startail house, is that right?
Yeah.
Do you follow their practice regiment? Is that correct?
I did like last week, and I tried to do it this week, but I don't know. I've been living like I don't have a 24-hour day. It's more like 26 or 27 hours, I guess. So even though I wake up like around this time every day, I still can't sleep earlier than the night before. Like yesterday, for example, I couldn't sleep until like 6 a.m. and I tried to sleep at 2 a.m. So I just laid in bed, listen to podcasts and so on. So I will try to see how it works out Wednesday, Thursday, and or is it Wednesday today?
Yeah. So how
In Korea, yeah.
yeah, it's
Okay. So I will
Yeah.
try the last 2 days as well. And if I just can't sleep all night, I obviously can't follow the schedule. But yeah, I will try this week.
So how much of that, I guess the value of being in Korea is being in a team house like Startails versus more of a kind of independent thing in the GOM house. Like how much better do you think it is being in the Startail house than the GOM house for you?
Now I would say the Gong House is like really good, I guess,
Okay.
because they got like players like Mana, Naniwa, what's his name? Mana's brother. He's a nice guy. And Kaldor is there as well, and he's a caster who's playing a lot. But when I was there, I think it was like very nice the first 2 weeks with QXC and Happy Third, but after they both left, I was like the only one ever playing Starcraft, so it was not really fun to be there. But to answer your question right now, I don't think it's like too big difference, because I know the players in the GOM house will practice.
I see. Cool.
He speaks the truth. A lot of players that would come out and stay in the Gome house just wouldn't play very much.
It's crazy, man.
So, yeah.
You'd go all the way out to Korea and you don't even practice or play. Okay.
then again, Sase went to the GOM house when it was a frickin' zoo and laddered for 16 hours a day on stream. So I mean, it was fine match after fine match after fine match. So I mean, when he went to the Startail house, he was like, wow, it's actually quiet here. Now they've had a whole other team move in there, and it's gotten a lot more crowd over there. So I think, it's continually fluctuating, right?
But I think, like, it's just about discipline. If you live alone or if you live with a team, I think you can do it either way, but it's up to you to practice a lot. No one else can force, like, maybe they can force you in a team house, but it's if you don't enjoy playing, it's hard to improve.
Right. So what do you do when you're not practicing? Like when you're in Korea, what are what do all the foreigners do for fun there?
I didn't do much for some weeks. I don't go clubbing, I guess. I went out with some other gamers, I think 2 weeks ago, and they had like my friend's friend is like a rapper or whatever. And his company had.
That's so sick, man. That's baller.
His company had an event, and it was like almost only girls there, so it was like perfect settings.
Perfect settings.
It was fun, but we went out with you in the middle of the event, and then I don't remember much.
Yeah.
It's all those videos of Kim like Gangnam dancing like with all these girls.
Kim does not have a girlfriend though, man. He's not doing that. So
Dude,
he's that serious about his game.
killing esports girlfriends now.
No, but it's true. Like they do. You can't deny that.
Yeah, I mean
If you
it's
say-
time. You gotta time to build a relationship is time away from practice, right?
Yeah, sure. I think it's only good for like the maybe first 1 or 2 months. Like when you first meet a girl, you are like really, really happy, so it can bring you up. But I think after that, you will just get worse.
As she gets demanding.
Yeah,
It's so funny because like Sase was like, I was like, well, this guy in the foreign scene, man, he did really good. He goes, that was a girlfriend. Look, he's not playing good now. See? I'm like,
It's so
snap.
true, man. I know
That's
a
true.
few instances where that was the case. Like everybody was like, "Oh man, he's just like slumping." And he's like had a really bad 3 or 4 tournaments in a row, and then you find out later it's like, yeah, his girlfriend dumped him, and he's been he's been depressed about it.
I don't think it's for like everyone, but most of the people. Because
I'm sure some people can handle it, but MC's got a girlfriend, right? He's okay.
Yeah, sure. Also, like gamers are not the people who get like the most girls, so it's usually like the first girlfriend they have, and then it's like even harder.
Sase, I know you and Naniwa out on the town, cruising around in Gangnam, you get all the ladies.
No. I can't speak a word of Korean, or I can speak a little bit, but I can't have a conversation. So it's hard.
So how long do you plan on staying in Korea?
Until I finish StarCraft 2, I guess.
Oh wow.
Unless,
Okay.
unless I find it's like impossible to become good, then maybe I would go back to Europe and just stream. I don't know, but I still have hopes. I'm not too worried yet.
He's not done yet.
Yeah. No, that's cool, man.
No, this is a guy who's been a pro gamer for almost 7 years. That's like more than almost everybody else in our team put together. So it's kind of like it's weird for the StarCraft 2 folks to realize that in Warcraft 3, Sase was Naniwa, if that makes sense. Like in that paradigm, Sase was the legend. He was the guy that everybody's like, you know what I mean?
No. Todd and Grabby was way better. Like
Well,
way
yeah.
higher.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, you were a legend in that era, I guess, for your micro specifically.
I don't know.
You're just really
everyone had the micro in Warcraft. You just don't know about the game micro.
Hey, well, your micro definitely shows through today. That's for sure.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
No, that's cool. I mean, that kind of long-term commitment. I don't think we see we haven't seen too often, right? So,
No, definitely not.
yeah. I mean, so you stay basically saying you're going to stay there until, either it works out or it doesn't. That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, and it's pretty cool. You have that opportunity too. That's really
Yeah.
awesome.
So, real quick poll of the chat here. Like, what does the chat think that? If you're in the chat, what is your favorite Sase play? Is it like War Prism, Zealot? Is it Blink Stalker? Is it what is it?
I still
We'll see what people say.
I still
I
remember
love his
going
immortal
to.
drops. His immortal drops are retardedly ridiculous. Like, oh my god. That's my favorite one. He drops him and he waits till he get hits just till the shield goes down, then he pulls him back up,
Right.
lets him charge up there, and the warp prism drops him again. It's like crazy.
So for you to in your opinion, like to kind of get to I guess the next step for you, Kim. I mean, what do you think it is? Just more of the same, or do you think eventually you'll want to work really closely with some of the other top Protoss in the Korean scene, or that sort of thing?
We changed like our seats some days ago, so now all the Protoss players sits together. So I'm sitting next to parking, so it's gonna be
that's good.
really fun. For my future, I've been trying to play so many events this year, and I figured it's like not working and it's not good. So now I told Quantic I don't want to go to MLG. It's too much for me. I want to have some time and practice, and then pick one event and go there and try to do good instead of going to every possible event.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people don't realize, is that when all these guys are just traveling and going to the events and competing and doing well, in reality they're not getting a chance to practice, right? I mean, when they're on the road, they're not practicing in between days, and they're just flying, or they're just trying to get rest in between in between days and matches and that kind of thing. So a lot of times when you've done it for so long, your play just ends up deteriorating in some, right?
Yeah.
I've got a question for Sase.
Yep.
Since you spent so much time in the Startail house, right now, based on what you've seen, who is the best player in practice on Startail right now?
I think Bomber practiced the most. I think Curious is really good, like really solid. The best one, I guess, it's Squirtle or Parking.
Do you think?
Hard to say.
Do you think Curious is going to beat rather? I think it's Reality. He plays in WCS Korea next. I think, if I remember right.
I think that's right. He's in the loser brackets. He lost to Parking yesterday or something. 2 days ago.
Yeah, who is it? Maybe
Is it not?
I think Curious.
It's not Reality. It's.
Maybe he plays. I'm trying to think of it. Curious has like a big match coming up in WCS. I'm trying to remember who that is against.
Some Vespa player, man.
Yeah, that's why I was. It might be Rain, actually. Yeah, that might be who I'm thinking of. I'm looking up the bracket right now. Let me see. Let's see. Korea. Yeah, I don't know. He's got a big match coming up against a Kespa player, but I don't know. I would assume that a lot of the guys there are pretty confident against the Kespa players still. I mean, despite what a few players have said, it still seems like they're pretty confident. What do you think? Have you heard a lot about that, like the Kespa versus GSL players? Have you heard the Startail players talking about it that much?
I think most pro gamers just try to focus and do their best, and they don't care if they're confident or not. They just try to play their best.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's pretty simple. Just make it as simple as possible, right?
Yeah, but it's so annoying, like, every tournament, every interview or whatever for an upcoming match is like, are you confident? Are you going to win? I don't fucking know, man.
That is kind of an old question in interviews now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People always like ask these questions that are like they're so centered around the competition and not around the person, because that's the thing that everybody really watches. People are like, oh, why do you like love Sase? It's because like who he is, like the cheer cannon, like that kind of stuff, I mean, yeah, his play is what drew you there, but I mean, the coherent story around it is really what people want.
I think part of it too is like when if you ask someone if they're confident or not, it's because the fans want to know how each player feels going into a match, because knowing how each player feels going into it kind of increases the excitement a little bit.
Yeah.
Even if it might seem kind of like a silly question, I feel like fans want to know.
I don't think the fans want to know. I think they rather know. I think they rather know what I ate for breakfast than if I'm confident. And it's more fun to know what I ate for breakfast than if I'm confident.
We need to know what every pro gamer eats for breakfast.
Wheaties, man. No.
I feel like I'm going to make this my mission now.
And that might be a tell as well if you're confident or not, depending on what.
That's true.
No,
That's
but,
actually-
no, but like everyone is gonna stand on the stage, look kind of nervous, and say, "Yeah, I will win," and that's it. And it will happen like almost all the time. So
Yeah,
it's
it's kind of
boring.
a canned answer at this point. But
Oh, and I did find the answer. Curious is indeed playing Rain, so he's got another Protoss matchup coming. That's actually good that the Rain from the Kespa teams is Protoss. I mean, even if the GSL Rain doesn't really play much anymore, at least he was Terran, so he can differentiate the two. But yeah, Curious versus Rain should be interesting.
But I about the Starcraft, I think, and I hope so much. Curious and Hack will have upswing soon, especially Hack. Curious has been known for a long time, but I think Hack can become like really, really good at Starcraft.
Oh yeah, he was like one of the most underrated players of 2011. He played so well in team leagues last year, especially.
right. All right, so I think that I think that's the last topic I have here is really just what advice you'd give I guess the fellow EU players, and I think we kind of know that, right? I mean, you'd recommend that everybody go to Korea, right, to really get to the next level, and
It depends on what their city. I mean, like players are in lower leagues. Who obviously can't go to Korea now.
of course.
As they got a lot of influence. So I would say just practice a lot and watch some videos from like Day9 and Artosis or Apollo, where they explain things so you can do better. You can learn a lot from this. I watched a lot of Day9 when I started to play StarCraft. So I think that helps a lot, and also obviously practice a lot and watch your replays and try to find things out. And you can discuss the game with friends as well. It might be easier that way.
Right. But at the highest level, though, you would tell them to go to Korea. Like you were mentioning Kots, right, Misha? And,
Yeah. Cat should come here. I hope it comes.
Is there plans for him to come there? I've never heard any plans for Kots to go there. That'd be pretty cool.
I'm not sure.
Well, all right. You guys got anything else for Kim right now? Because otherwise, we'll probably transition some to Erik here. All right. So Erik, we're gonna kind of go into some of your topics here.
I go eat really quickly then because else I don't get food for like 5 hours.
Okay, sounds good.
I will
Go
be
grab
back
a bite.
I will be back in 15 minutes or so.
Okay, sounds good. I guess we'll find out
Yes.
what Pro Gamers eat for breakfast right now.
That's right. As soon as he gets back, we can ask him.
Exactly.
Okay,
So Erik, I think a
Yes.
majority of the people in the community know you from just a lot of the IPL work you've done, with Kevin and great work you've done actually. But why don't you quickly give a background of your esports? Because I don't think a lot of people didn't know you probably casted for GOM and that kind of thing too. So why don't you give a I don't know 5-minute kind of background?
Sure. Well, I'm kind of new to esports. I've only been involved in the industry for a little. It's like a little under 2 years right now, I guess. I started casting in 2010, probably around August or so. So yeah, about 2 years now. And I just started from casting on YouTube to eventually doing online events. There's this really early network that was around called, what was it called? It was something, Rush Network, that's what it was. Yeah, way back in the day to that. Then there was, then I did a lot of casting for CSN and things like that. But in February, GoMTV asked me to come out and cast GSL Code A. So then I did that, and I was basically at the GSL from pretty much March until December with like a break in the middle where I was back in the US for a month. But then actually in January I went to San Francisco to cast for IPL until last week, and now I am moving back to Korea on Sunday to go work for OGN and cast the OSL and hopefully fly around the world and do a lot of other events too.
It's awesome, man. And I know you've had you've kind of mentioned like your desire to get back to Korea, and you really
Yeah.
enjoy just I guess life in Korea. What is it about Korea that you just really like? I've definitely heard some things from things like Real Talk with Tasteless, and and they talk about like a lot of the just Korean lifestyle and what they like about it. But I kind of curious about to hear what your thoughts are on it.
Well, it's an amazing country to live in. When I got there, one of the first things that Tasteless told me was he was like, Korea just like will get in your blood, and you'll just never want to leave. And I was like, all right, well that sounds cool, but I didn't really like it. It was hard to comprehend, but I don't know how else to really say it now. I mean, it's just like in my blood. It's just like where I want to live, and the people there that I know are all like really cool, really fun to hang out with. The scene is like fascinating to me. I think it's really exciting too for me to be able to learn about and kind of be immersed in another culture too. That's very different, from where I'm from, where I'm used to. And the Koreans are all like really nice too. I mean, it's a really friendly culture. It's awesome. What's up? What?
Just say it like it is. You are a freaking rock star there, and they love you, and it makes you feel like $1 million.
I'm popular with the ladies. What can I say?
Popular with the ladies.
That's right.
I mean,
The guys too, but for casting though.
No, that's a good question to ask him. Were you going to ask him? Is there a lady?
No, there's very much not a lady, as I am in the process of filing of divorce right now with my wife.
Nice,
so
John.
there's
Nice.
very much not a lady right
Horrible.
now.
That just went horribly
No,
wrong.
It's fine. I mean,
God.
I don't really like to make my personal life public, just because I think it's boring, and that's not what I'm about. I'm more about I want to introduce players to or introduce fans to players and games and things like that. But it is part of it. So I mean, I came back from Korea to try to fix that. Didn't work out. So now that's another reason to go back as well. But so I don't know. Maybe sometime down the road there'll be a lady involved. But I'm certainly in no hurry right now. Actually, when I get back to Korea, it's going to be actually a huge focus on playing again. I have not had as much time to play in the last 6 months as I did in Korea. In Korea, a lot of times, and Sase can probably verify this once he gets back from breakfast, I was playing, towards the end I was playing quite a bit, like 20 plus games a day, and I really want to be able to get to a point where I can compete and maybe even take a couple games off a pro gamer. That's like my dream, is getting that good at StarCraft 2 that I can actually do that. So that's going to be my top priority when I get to Korea, because I feel like my casting is going to improve, just by doing that too. I mean, I can study replays and I can study VODs and learn about players and things like that. But I can also improve my casting by playing a lot too, and I can also become a good player by doing that. So that's like my first priority when I get back, is just play a ton, get as good as I possibly can, and see where things go from there. Yeah.
Are you of the belief, kind of like Artosis, of switching playing all the races, really getting at least some level, pretty good at all the races, so that you have a good understanding of all the matches?
Yeah. I would say so. I was at a point where I played Terran at the Masters level NA, and I want to clarify NA because it's very much not anywhere near as good as Korea. And this is like low Masters too, so it's still basically being horrible at the game. But I played Terran and Zerg at right now. I would consider my Zerg at about Masters level or so, based on like who I can beat in practice on a regular basis. But basically, I feel that it is really important to play, the races, because there's a difference between being able to look at a replay and being like, oh, this guy did this, so that means in this amount of time he'll probably do this because I've seen that happen before. But it's a really different situation to be able to talk about, oh, he's doing this and he'll do this because he knows about this, and you can really only gain that by playing it too. So, and I've always I've never played a game halfway. I mean, whenever I've gotten really into a video game, I've wanted to learn every little single thing there is to learn about it. And StarCraft 2, it's just like endless. It's like StarCraft 1. You can never stop learning about it. So I feel it's important to play all three races. I think if you're gonna have any chance of being like a pro, you probably want to stick to one.
Yeah.
And so for me, in that regard, I'm kind of lucky because I don't have to really worry about winning right now as far as beating other people in the game. I just need to worry about doing a really, really good job of casting, so that lets me be able to play all 3 races much more than like a pro gamer would be able to. But I don't know. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do yet. I do really want to just focus on Zerg and get as good as I can with it, but because it's my favorite race to play. But at the same time, I can't picture myself not playing the other races too, because I enjoy it and I think it's important for casting. So
Yeah, it kind of begs the question, which I've kind of been sensing it with other casters too, is casting enough? Like, is it enough for I guess you and for other casters to really be, I guess, only a caster in esports, like for, you know, the next X years, you know, however long the career is?
I think it depends on the person. I know a lot of casters out there that want to just stay and cast, and that means doing other games as well. That's another thing that a lot of people don't talk about is they're like, oh, you want to be a caster, but then people are like, well, can you really cast only StarCraft 2 for the next 10 years? I think you probably can if you really want to in certain situations. I feel like if you want to be a caster, then you're going to be an esports commentator, and you're going to eventually do more than just StarCraft 2. I've been playing a lot of League of Legends actually right now. I think in the future I do want to get into casting that. It's a fun game. I don't think it's as deep as StarCraft 2. I personally like StarCraft 2 a lot more, and that's what I'm going to focus on. But someday I could see myself doing that as well as StarCraft 2, or maybe like Dota 2 or something else, some other MOBA or something like that. And if I want to have a career in casting, I have to think about having other games. I mean, DJ Wheat gets it more than anyone, I think, as far as like how you need to be able to transition from game to game and try to make a career out of it. So I want to do that too. But I hope to be able to do StarCraft 2 as long as possible. Like, I don't intend to really do any other game for a while at least. I don't know. I just like StarCraft 2 a lot. I don't really want to play any other game right now, but I do have to think about it. So I am kind of like doing other things on the side a little bit to sort of prepare for that if I need to. But as far as right now, I think StarCraft 2 is going to be plenty for me for the foreseeable future.
Doa, what drew you into casting? I mean, what was it about? What was like one or two things that really got you like, wow, this is awesome. This really gets my blood flowing. That's what I really like to do.
It was the original HDH Invitational and the old Day 9 dailies, actually. When I discovered Team Liquid and found out about this whole like pro scene thing, I watched a lot of that, and I'm like, this looks like it's so much fun to commentate games. And at that point, I was working full time. I was married, of course. So I didn't have a lot of time to play the game. I got to like platinum in beta back when platinum was like the highest thing, and then I really wasn't able to get much farther than that initially. So I thought, well, I want to be involved in this scene, but I can't do it as a player right now. I've got a little bit of background in radio. I have sports experience, sports broadcasting experience from the production side. So I feel like I can make these videos too. So I felt like it was a good way for me to sort of become involved with this scene that I just like learned about and thought it was so awesome. So that's kind of where it came about, I guess.
Cool.
Talk to us a little bit about, I guess, the differences in working with like GOM.TV for, you worked for GOM.TV for almost a year, is that right? Or
yeah, well, about like
and
7 or 8 months or so, yeah, so most of a year pretty much.
Yeah, kind of compare, I guess, working at GOM to working at IPL.
All right. It was extremely extremely different. It was my mic cord is getting like caught on like one of the things in my pocket. It's really annoying. Anyway, so with GOM.TV, I pretty much my day was my own. If I was casting a day, then I would look at the matches I was casting beforehand and watch some VODs of the players from previous matches, look up stats and things like that. Basically, I spent like the whole day preparing for just that one broadcast. And then in the evenings, I'd usually play a little bit. And then the other days that I wasn't casting over there, then I would just try to play a lot and watch VODs and things like that too, but mostly use those as my playing days. So basically, with GOM.TV, I had a lot of time to myself that I could choose what to do with. At IPL, I was casting every day. And I was also working on a lot of other things behind the scenes, working on those shows that I had going, which I hope to bring back once I get to Korea. Those shows I did 4 times a week, I think it was, and I was helping out with some graphic stuff there for my shows and things like that. I was working on a lot of stats graphics that we incorporated into the broadcast. going to meetings and things like that. So basically, I was involved in a lot of other things that kind of took me away from playing and preparing, and it was like an hour and a half commute too. So it was about 10 or 11 hours total for the workday there. So it was a lot tougher to be able to kind of be a caster like I wanted to be a caster. I still enjoyed it. It was a ton of fun. The office is really cool, and everybody there, really works hard, and it's neat to be around a group of people that has such a huge amount of passion for esports. So that was really fun. But it wasn't, at the end of the day, it wasn't really how I wanted to live my casting life, I guess. So that's one of the other things that kind of led me to accept the offer when OGN contacted me about a month or two ago and asked if I wanted to come do the OSL. Because I just like the style of I just like my lifestyle better in Korea than I did at IGN, despite the fact that it was a cool place to live.
Mm-hmm. I see.
And work.
I mean, are the majority of the people that you hang out with in Korea foreigners, or do you hang out with a lot of? Do you have a lot of Korean friends too? I guess.
Yeah, I have some Korean friends that I would hang out with from like the GoMTV staff and things like that, and
right.
occasionally, like Wolf and I, went and hung at the TSL house once, and so we would hang out with the players every once in a while. Went drinking with the Startail coach and a Bomber a couple times when I was over there. But it was mostly the non-Koreans that you'd hang out with because, they spoke English more, you lived with them. Mm-hmm. So, like, Wolf and Caldor and I hung out all the time. When Moltrap was there, we hung out a lot, too. Of course, like, Torch, lived there for a long time. He, managed the Gome house for quite a while, which I don't think a lot of people know.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Yep. We used to call him the Gom Mom. But, yeah, he was there, too. So, yeah,
I think Torch is here.
What's that?
Hey, Kim.
In Korea? Yeah, he's back.
Yeah.
He doesn't live in the Gom house anymore, though, does he?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I think he works. I think he lives in some housing thing that OGN found for him or something like that. But, yeah, he'll be fun to hang out with. I'm actually really looking forward to getting back and hanging out with everybody in Korea.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. Yeah, I think a lot. I think a lot. That's what I hear. It's just everybody that I know that's lived in Korea for a while or worked in Korea that they always want to go back. So it's a pretty common theme there. And let's see, the next thing.
I guess just to add to that, it's not for everybody. And a lot of people say, "Oh, I'd love to go out to Korea and live there and do the stuff there." But it's a completely different culture, different country. Very different way of life, so it's not for everybody. I've seen people go out there and absolutely hate it too.
I think so too.
Yeah, so you have to be ready for all the challenges too.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It depends on yourself what you want. If you want to dedicate your life to something, you should go here. But
yeah,
if you think StarCraft is not that fun to play like 12 hours a day, maybe you should come here for a month and check it out. Then you can decide.
Exactly. All right, so Erik, I know you're officially you're still with It's GoSu, right?
Officially, yep.
And one of the things that we've asked other caster guests in the past is really the value of joining a team as a caster, and what value that is, what led you to do that instead of just being, basically a freelancer and just contracting, like basically jobs.
Well, I was thinking about maybe trying to join a team because I didn't really know, how good that would be, honestly, if that would be a good idea for me or not to do it, because I wasn't quite sure, if it would be restricting to me or if it would benefit me or whatever. But what ended up happening is I started getting to be pretty good friends with Scott Ball, who used to manage It's GoSu. Now he works for Quantic, actually. So, and he's a great pickup, Mark. He's an awesome guy. He works super hard.
Who is this?
Scott Ball.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, oh, man, he's a beast, dude.
Yeah, he's awesome. So him being so awesome, and the players on It's GoSu that I kind of gotten to know, I was talking to Scott about it one night, and he's like, "Why don't you just join the team?" And I'm like, "Well, all right, sure, I'll try to do it." And from that moment on, I felt really guilty because I wasn't really doing a whole lot for their team because I was so busy doing other things. Like once in a while, the players would come to me with replays and things like that, and we'd talk about different matchups, and I'd help them learn, a different player's style if they knew who they were going to play against. I'd be like, all right, well, he likes to do this and this and all that. But honestly, like, there were a lot of times where I was like, Scott, I think I should just leave the team because I'm not doing anything for you guys. And he always like wanted me to stay on because I guess my name was good enough, being on the team, that it was helping them with sponsorships and things like that. So ultimately, I feel like if a caster is a popular caster, they can be beneficial to a team as far as that sort of thing goes, as far as sponsorships and things. But it's tough, unless a caster really, really, really wants to get involved as a coach too, for a caster to really benefit a team. So I think of it more in terms of what does a team really gain from having a caster on their roster, and frankly, I don't think they gain a whole lot, I mean, if I ever do leave, it's GoSu, and I love being on the team. I really, really like all the people there, and I love talking with them all, but if I ever do end up leaving them, I'm not going to look for another team to join or anything like that. I'm not ruling it out completely, but I just don't think that teams really benefit a whole lot from having a caster on the team, unless the caster is like a big name that can bring in sponsorships and things like that. And even then, I mean, if you're just like, if it's just like a name that they can use, I don't know. So that's where all the guilt comes in, because I want to be more valuable to the team, but I feel like only being a name, isn't enough for me. So hopefully when I get back to Korea, I can be, like more of a real asset to them too. So we'll see. That's my feelings on it anyway.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like when you signed on, it's just basically just adding the name. I mean, was it just basically adding your name to it? I mean, adding the GoSu in front of your name. I mean, it wasn't much more than that, because I mean, obviously, if there was some kind of investment in you, then I would expect that the team would want you to do more, right?
Yeah, I mean, I promote their players, and I promote the team when I'm at events and things like that, and I've got a jersey and everything, and I really do, believe in the players that we have too. I mean, I wouldn't represent a team where I didn't think the players had potential. I mean, we've got Ostagy, who's a really, really phenomenal Zerg player coming up. STX is really good. We've actually got really decent Korean players now in Hwangsin. Ice Cream used to be on Zenex, and Illusion, who used to be on OGS. And then we also have Naura, who used to be on Dream Team Gaming. So they've got a lot of potential talent there too, and I want to see that succeed. So there is some effort from me to try to make that happen, but with the time restraints that I've had, especially since going back to the U.S., I feel like it hasn't really been worth it for them. So
right, I see.
We'll see.
I see.
So let me ask you a question, Doa. Like, who are you going to be casting with over there at the OSLs? Or like, you have as far as the duo goes, or do you know yet?
I'm not 100% sure yet. It's probably, I would guess it's probably going to be Mole Trap, but it could also be Torch too. They haven't told me for certain yet. Might be a mix of the two. I really don't know. But whoever it is, I'm gonna do my best, and it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, that'd be cool seeing Torch cast again, or cast with you. That'd be cool. The Mole Traps. I mean, Mole Trap's like what do they call Mole Trap? They call Mole Trap the epitome of a Korean caster. I mean, the foreign version of like the epitome of a foreigner that has all the qualities of a Korean, like a really great Korean caster, right, or something like that.
He's a great guy. I mean, he's Noah's a friend of mine and everything, and I know he's gotten a tough rap, with his casting over the years and things like that. But I hope that changes. I hope that he wants to put in the work to, improve and really show that he can cast and things like that. And if he and I do end up casting together, you can be absolutely sure that we will both be pushing things as far as we possibly can to be a great casting duo. And with that said too, OGN I know is already really aware of the foreign scene. They really are in tune with what fans are saying about everything. They've really got a lot of good experience doing League of Legends, which they've already been doing for a couple months as something broadcasted to the foreign scene. So or the non-Korean scene, I suppose you could say. So they're already paying attention to the non-Korean communities out there too. So they'll be working to make things as good as they possibly can too. It's actually going to be really, really exciting. I can't wait to see that. I mean, if any of you watched the OSL finals and saw the stream quality that they had for that, for their English stream, that's amazing. That's the best stream quality out of a Korean event ever, like that we've ever had. So I'm happy about that. That's a cool thing for me. So And that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg. I mean, we got like MC dressing up like the Undertaker on the group selection now too. And that's pretty
Exactly.
awesome.
Leave it to MC to bring the wrestling kind of antics to esports. It's awesome. But man, we're blowing through these topics though. Okay, we're going to go on to kind of our last one here, and this one could be kind of a touchy one, but I want to frame it a little bit before we get into it. But the topic's really the whole, I guess the whole player. I don't want to say players versus casters. That's kind of a bad way to put it. But there's been some rumblings, right, about just like attention and promotion of like casters during some of these events versus players, right? And obviously the big joke going around is like the whole Liquid Red thing, right? Like every caster basically promoting Reds, like Twitter. But yeah, so I kind of wanted to bring that up with you guys. Like, what are your feelings on that? And like I want to frame it a little bit in the standpoint of I think like some of that responsibility should go to like tournament organizers and casters and just promotion in general should be instructed in a certain way. You know what I mean? Because I think in a lot of these events, the casters are, for the most part, given a schedule and just given the mic, and they just do their thing, right? And they're not instructed to do much from the standpoint of outside of promoting sponsors, maybe. But from a player standpoint, like you guys just don't talk that much about the players, except for with their current play or just I don't know, just any kind of history that you know about them, right? I don't know. What are your thoughts, both of you guys? Or all of you guys, actually, not both of you guys.
I'll let Kim go first.
Actually, I don't really care so much if the casters promoting or not, but the thing that annoys me most with some casters is like they are not working hard. Like when I moved to the GOM house, none of the casters were playing StarCraft at all for like the first month. Then one day I got up and I saw all of them playing, and I was like, cool, maybe they will start to work now. But then I figured out like Blizzard was coming later and making some documentary or whatever. And so they just played to show Blizzard that they were playing, but they were not. Then they didn't play again. So yeah, I think Doa started to try to work a little bit harder later, but like Wolf and Motrap almost never ever played.
But that goes back to the belief that you have to play to be a good caster. So that I think that's more of a. Go ahead.
You have to, I think, or maybe not that much, but it depends on your position and so on. But I think if you want, you don't have to, but if you want to become a better player, caster, you have to play a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, your audio is a little muffled, Kim. Not sure.
Like, is it okay?
I think I caught most of it.
Okay, yeah, it's a little bit like underwater sounding, but okay. Wait, what are your thoughts, Erik?
I think playing more will definitely make you a better caster, and that every caster out there should be trying to play whatever game they're casting as much as they possibly can. But at the same token, there's a lot of instances too where casters just can't play as much as players, obviously, because if they could, they'd probably be players, not casters. There's a lot of preparation that needs to be done for broadcasts and things like that. So casters shouldn't be held to the same expectations of players as far as playing goes. And I think that's kind of what Kim was saying too. But they should also try to get into it as much as they can. And let's see, I had something else to say, but then I forgot what it was.
No, I'm not saying they should play all the time, but that
I know.
some hours a day. Like I said, when I came to the gun house for 1 month, I don't think I saw any casters play a single game, except for when Blizzard came to shoot the documentary. And like these are the casters casting the best league in StarCraft 2. And like the thing that hurts me is when like casters are saying things at the stream that's like opposite to the truth.
Yeah, they're just wrong. I know what you mean.
Yeah, that's annoys me a lot.
Did you see them? Did you see these casters? Were they watching VODs? Were they, looking through Wikipedia for stats on players? Did you see him doing anything that seemed productive, or was it your concern was that they weren't playing at all?
I can only remember them going to the GoSuDoa class. But
Okay.
maybe they had talks before that or whatever, but
I can't speak for the other two, I guess, but for me, it's like I was saying earlier when I was kind of talking about my day-to-day schedule. I did a lot of preparation, and I think for casting, about probably 80 to 90% of how well you do as a caster is based on preparation beforehand, which means finding out, how the players like to play, finding out how they played in their last few matches, watching those VODs, and also finding about the players themselves. I know we talked a little bit earlier about casters and tournament organizers not promoting the player as a person quite as much, and that was always something that I tried to do a lot in my casting. And if you go back and watch the GSL Code AVODs from last year, hopefully you'll see that, where I try to talk about the players as people too, kind of where they came from, what they're like, as a personality-wise, things like that, because I feel like humanizing the players definitely does go a long way in terms of getting the fans to know the players, which is so important. So yeah, that's kind of a lot of what I was doing too. And
it's weird that you bring this up, SaSe, that exact thing, because before the show, actually last night, Chris and I talked, and in the past I've had somewhat of a similar feeling that I think that the casters need to do more. I think they need to do more work, and I think I think a lot of times they get paid an exorbitant amount of money that they need to do more to earn, right? But kind of what you said actually bothered me a little bit, because I guess when I saw what Rachel does, if you know Seltzer, when she does a lot of emceeing, right? So even though she works with CSN, I never really got to see what she did or how she prepared for this. I thought, honestly, this is honest God truth, and I'll tell her this, and I'm saying it in front of about 300 people too, is that I really thought, well, she just gets up there and says a few lines and then goes back. I'm dead serious. But watching her work and just sitting back and being like, okay, what is she doing? Because part of my job is, as a director of operations, to make sure everyone's freaking doing their job, and doing what they need to do. And I just sat back and I just watched her for literally 10 minutes, and I was amazed at just the preparation that she was putting in for what could have only been maybe 2 or 5 minutes up on stage. But, understanding exactly what was going to be in front of her for those 2 to 5 minutes was so key, and it might take 45 minutes to get that information for her. And it changed the way I saw how some of this stuff is done. It doesn't always look like the casters are working, and I'm not defending the casters 100%. I'm just saying in this case, from my experience, I think I felt the same way at times. Like, really, what are they doing? Are they being productive? But I really did see a lot of dedication in what they were doing.
I agree, but if I live with them for 1 month and I don't see that a single fucking game of StarCraft, like I think I can say
no, I agree.
They are not very dedicated.
Right, and that's why I was asking if you saw them doing anything else too, because I agree. I mean, if they weren't playing any StarCraft, I get, that'd be like a football announcer trying to do some, a weekly football show, and he hasn't watched any football all week. He really just is getting his information from someone else.
I think another thing too that people don't really think about is with casters, it's a lot like players in that the good ones will last and the bad ones will fade away. And we're pretty new here in StarCraft 2. It's going to be true. We're so new in StarCraft 2 that come back in like a year, 2 years, and we'll see who the casters were that were really putting in the work, because those guys will still be around where everyone else wasn't able to make a living doing it because they weren't working hard enough, so they're going to be gone.
Although with that being said, Doa, there are people that will just get a pass simply because of their game.
There probably will be. Yeah, a couple of them, but I think overall, the best ones are going to stick around, and the not-so-good ones are going to go away.
Right.
You can see a lot of other casters like DJ Wheat, Apollo, Day9. They are streaming a lot, and not many casters do that. I think they should do it, because then you see that they are trying to improve at least. And then it's harder to talk bad about someone. Calor streams a lot as well.
Shouldn't they be able to just prove that they're doing the work by the broadcast that you see them do on a daily basis? Like, for instance, with IPL, I was casting every day. I don't stream much just because I don't really enjoy streaming a whole lot. But, you know, I was on the air every day. I was at big events, and I'd like people to look at that and judge me by it. Why don't I enjoy streaming? Because, I don't know, I just don't enjoy streaming that much. I don't like being distracted.
Well, you know,
Distracted by what?
By people out there on the internet.
Isn't it good if many fans are probably on a higher level than you when it comes to playing, right? Isn't it good if they can
don't
give
think
advice?
that's true.
You were in like silver or gold? Like in Korea, right?
oh god.
No, I was
Oh,
not
boy, here
silver
we go.
gold.
Oh.
Jeez,
Yeah,
anyway.
At the Korean server.
Korean
Come on,
server,
we gotta get some sparring between Sase and Doa.
No,
we
I would
can't
say
have a
Korean
episode
server.
without-
I was platinum, man. I was platinum.
Okay, but don't you think there is player higher than platinum watching the stream? I would probably.
Korean platinum? Maybe. We'll see. I don't know. I'd love to see them try.
Dude, there's like
But-
800. There's like 800 or more people in Korea that could be rank 1 GM on both North America or Europe.
Well, anyway,
Yeah.
the point is
No,
that
but
I think,
I think you can get a lot of advice when you stream from other
Yeah,
people
I-
as well.
might not be
Oh.
a bad idea.
Yeah, but advice in what? In how you're playing the game or how you're casting?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah,
because
playing the game. Yeah, but if you don't know like how to react to things and like what could be good and so on, then it's like you do your background check on the player. That's one thing, but being able to like predict what he's going to do based on what he sees and so on, that's another thing. And I think you need help to like learn things like that.
He
Yep,
doesn't
it
have
might.
he doesn't have
I,
to stream though, Kim. I mean, he can go and like talk to you for like a few hours and get more out get more information
That's
about
actually
stuff like
something.
that. I mean,
That's actually something I was going to bring up. Is that I do have a lot of pro players that I talk to
Yeah.
all the time. Where, for instance, I live with Axlev right now. So if I have a question
Yeah.
about something that I saw or I'm trying to learn something better, I'll usually just ask one of them too. So I have access to a huge wealth of help and information for players and casters on both sides of things. So.
No, not
Yeah,
just
it's
players and
definitely
casters
nice.
either. I mean, I've had casters come to me, and I know jack shit really about StarCraft 2. I mean, everyone knows this. And they'll ask my opinion. I am a sports guy. I watch sports constantly. I know sports. I know somebody that can carry a conversation well and that can pull me in. If there's a StarCraft caster that can actually pull me into a match, because I watch a lot of it, I just don't have any time to play it, then for me, that's important, because that's important for growing esports in a lot of ways. But I understand a lot of pro players and a lot of people in the community, they want to have casters that know every little freaking thing that has to do with the game. And I don't think that's going to happen. Two, I don't think that's as important as being able to have such a really good presence on stream that you pull people in. You have the ability to show what's happening or talk about what's happening in a way that really gets people more interested in the game. You may not know every little detail, but anyway, I was just going off there for
No,
a
I
minute.
completely agree, man. There was a guy who last year he came on like at Dallas, and he was like the caster for the Houston Astros. And his name was Corey Dunn, and he had this really sexy voice, and he would come on the air and talk like this, and he started casting Call of Duty for MLG, and it was like a total train wreck in Dallas, right? And then in like Columbus, it got a lot better, and by the end of the year, man, this guy had like every Call of Duty game he'd ever seen in his entire life at MLG written down in a spiral binder in front of him. He could check, he was calculating all these stats and everything like that. By the time Nationals came around, Corey Dunn was like one of the best Call of Duty commentators in the world. So I mean, if you know how to do it and you're serious about it, I think that you can find out what's important, and
Yeah,
of course,
for sure.
if you're at the Artosis level and you can play like that, then obviously you're going to notice a lot of nuance, but a lot of that nuance that you notice might be interesting to your viewing audience, or it might not be,
See, that's one of the things I wanted to mention too, is that's actually one of my big reasons for going back to Korea, is I want to be able to play at that level. I want to be able to get back and do all that and know the game, that intimately. And I don't know what else to say other than I'm trying to do absolutely everything I can here. I've got notebooks filled with build orders and strategies for each player and tons of Google Docs and everything like that. And I do prepare a lot for the cast too, but it's being a good player is very, very important to me, and it's one of the largest motivating factors of me going back to Korea too. So, yeah, maybe I will start streaming when I go back to Korea.
I hope so.
I will.
I
will.
We were talking about players versus casters, and I say from a player's perspective, if you want to get respect from a player, you should try a lot and make us see. I think I get really happy when I see. I never watch DJ with streaming, but I see him all the time on Team Liquid, and it makes me really happy. Apollo as well, Caldor.
Yeah, Apollo's a badass, man. That dude's got it together, man. He's young, but I really like his style.
So,
and who's the other guy? What was it? I mean, since we're doing little caster shout-outs here. Oh, Axel Toss was on Quantic for a while, and he's really grown up a lot too. He's done a lot of big things recently. And of course, Total Biscuit, he's like a trip.
So, one thing I did want to mention before we're going to be doing Q&A in a little bit here, or just in about 5-10 minutes here, guys. So start adding me on Skype. My Skype ID is ChanmanV, and we'll pull you into the call so you can you can ask Kim or Erik any of your questions, or John, Mark, or myself. But I wanted to point out one last thing, Erik, that you kind of mentioned in that, and you said that give it a year or 2 years, and we'll see the casters that kind of are there when the smoke clears, I guess you could say.
I hope so.
My question to you is, or my comment to you about that is, the casters that are at the pinnacle right now, those are the same casters that have been at the pinnacle for a year or 2 years now, and honestly, I mean, my opinion on it is that you're not going to see that change, because it's not so much about quality so much as it's much about politics, right? And those,
okay.
I mean, I don't know. What are y'all's thoughts on it? Because I just think the same. I mean, that's not. I mean, those guys would do a good job regardless. But I just think that given the political situation in esports, there's no reason that those guys will ever be knocked off.
Oh, there's definitely politics involved. I mean, you can't deny it. There's politics in any sport, and that saying that isn't an excuse for it. It's just kind of admitting that it does exist. From my own perspective, I know people like to talk about the old boys club or whatever on this show. I've heard it talked about a couple times before, but basically, I think to a certain extent there is a little bit of politics. But I think if you're good enough and if you can make a good effort on it, and to a certain extent get a little bit lucky too, I feel like anyone can break into it. Like I don't agree at all with people who say, oh, you can't become a pro caster now or a pro whatever because it's too much politics and you can't get in. They've got their club and that's it. That's not true. There is, of course, going to be friendships and cliques that emerge in something like that, and they're there in esports. They're absolutely there. But if you're good enough, you can get in. You can absolutely do it. If you're good enough, and that means if you're willing to take risks too and sacrifice a lot of other things, you can do it. So it's not that it's impossible. It's not going to be. I don't think it's not going to be as hard as like breaking into the movie industry in America or something like that. But it is going to be hard. But if you really, really want to, I think a lot of people can make a good run at it.
No, I mean, I think the ability to like break into it is a little bit different than what I was trying to get at, which is like the people that are already there. Like they'll never drop off unless they choose to. Unless they choose to do something just completely different. Like, Husky kind of has his own thing going now, right? He doesn't cast quite as much as he used to, right? But unless they choose to take themselves out of the race, I mean, those guys will be there for as long as they want to be there, I feel like. And then, yeah, sure, when the industry gets a little bit bigger, there's more events, guys like, Kalaris and the, guys start making, start getting into the scene, and they start getting, like, really great casting jobs, too, yourself, too. But those guys, like the Testoses and those guys, I mean, they're not going anywhere. I mean, they're not going anywhere for, like, I can't even imagine, like, them going anywhere.
They're not going anywhere, but the reason for that right now is because they're really, really good.
Yeah, sure.
There's been some commentators out there that have been pretty popular in the past that have started to take more flack recently because it seems like they're not quite keeping up with things as much as they were before.
Like who?
So
Like,
I'm not going to name any names with that, but I'm saying
Why?
those types of people are
It's
probably
not
going to eventually drop off.
who?
You can say something.
I'm saying this is what I've seen other people say. This is not what I think myself. In fact, I probably disagree with the fans in general on that one, but I've seen it on Reddit, things like that. And so I think
Hey,
that
what do
does
you-
have an effect in terms of if organizers will bring someone to an event, you know?
What do you think about Pain User, for example? I mean, you used to work with him at IPL, right? I mean, is it a case where, you know, he's not with IPL anymore, and so now he's got to find his way back in? And like, how hard is it, you know, in a situation where, and I'm not using him, I'm not picking on him specifically. I'm just saying, like Gwen, for example. Gwen had a bunch of applications, you know, that got canceled after the whole GSL thing, or GESL thing. Like, how do you find your way back into the community if, you know, if something happens like that?
You
I
don't.
think you just stick with it, and sometimes you don't, but you know sometimes you do too. So I don't know. I can't say I haven't really been in that position, I guess, but I think how you conduct yourself at events is a really big deal. If you're professional at the events that you're at, if you're you know keeping your head even when things are getting a little bit crazy, I think that goes a long way. I mean, nobody really cares about how good your voice is if you're flying off the handle at crew backstage and things like that. And
Yeah.
if and so the thing is a lot of those commentators that get to do an event here and there, you know, if they conduct themselves as a professional would at these events, then that gives them a much bigger chance of being invited to other events and being invited back to the event, you know, that they were at again too. So I feel like professionalism in the realm of commentators is vitally important, and that has affected a lot of people who we've seen in the past and haven't been, you know, back too. So I think that's a big part of it that a lot of people don't realize, especially a lot of newer casters that come up. You know, they have this attitude where it's like, oh, it's esports, it's wild and crazy, and we're just like hardcore and on the edge and all that. But when it comes to like game time and it comes to actually doing that event, if you aren't a professional, that's going to be the last event you do. That's just how it is. Yeah.
Very true. Very true.
It's interesting. I kind of don't know if I should bite my tongue on this. It's interesting that Mark, you brought up that people have had a hard time getting back into places. I was just messaged by someone the other day, a caster, who had submitted an application at a place, and he was basically straight up told in Skype, and I did see it, that sorry, we will no longer work with you anymore. There was no explanation, but it was simply, we just won't work with you anymore.
No, who is this? What is this? This is about the Gwen thing?
No, this was just in general about somebody who messaged me. You know, you'd brought it up that, you know, how do you get back into a place where, you know, maybe you were let go, or you no longer work there, or you've been let go at another place. How do you get into a new place when there is a lot of politics in it? And
Are you
the
talking
politics,
about? Are you talking about EG?
No, I'm not talking about anything specific.
Okay. I was going to say, because they've like come out straight up and just attacked on me. So, I mean, like, I guess what I'm saying is that, I mean, it just depends on the situation. It depends, like, for example, like, even if you're a really big team or you're a really big league or whatever, I mean, like, MLG does this too, man. I mean, MLG thinks that, you know, they throw their weight around a lot, right? And they're like the big boys. So, I mean, I guess they can do that. But, I mean, is it really good to do that is the thing, you know? Is it really ever good to do that? I think that they've gotten a lot better about not doing that recently. I think that that's good.
Well, it's okay to say no. We're not going to work with you anymore. Or it's okay to say no. No. But the point that I was making in this case is that it was a straight up, hey, we're not going to work with you anymore. We will never work with you ever, is basically what was said. And to me, that's frustrating to hear. Because, again, that just plays right into the fact that there are a lot of politics in this. There's a lot of cliques. There's a lot of little secret societies. Yeah, there will always be.
Just be glad that you got the message on Skype and not on Reddit.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Oh, true. All right, guys. Why don't we take some question here from the audience, guys? You know, to call in your questions, ask, you know, Mark, John, Kim, Eric, or myself any questions. Doesn't have to be esports related. It could be personal. You know, just fun questions if you want. Add me on Skype. My Skype ID is ChanmanV, and I'll pull you into the call. But tradition, we always pull in Kurt here. So
Oh no, it's Key Hunt.
Key Hunt.
What's up, buddy?
All right, I gotta fix this.
Oh, dun dun dun.
What's up,
guys?
Kurt?
How are you guys?
Good. How you doing, man?
Good. Can't complain. Can't complain. I missed a little bit of the show this evening, so if I ask the same question, I'm sorry. I'm just sort of flying off the cusp here, but I do have a question for Doa. Doa, and it's okay if you can't answer this,
All right.
completely honestly. But
Sure.
I'm sure you can, to an extent. But I just want to get your opinions on IPL's general direction now that you're with them, not with them. Like, one thing that's kind of confused me is just, and I love IPL. I think David Ting is one of the truly passionate people in the community. I like that about it, but their message has become a little convoluted lately. It went from, this North American only thing to this big Korean thing to now they're doing the GSL thing to now they're not even having an open bracket. It's more like an online qualification system. Like, just your opinion on it all.
Oh,
Are they
well, I
making
mean,
the
it's...
right decisions, I guess.
Well, as far as that goes, there's been some things they've done that I've agreed with and some things that I haven't, agreed with quite as much. So
Can you give us some examples, though? Just
Yeah,
out of
sure.
curiosity.
As far as... I'm more, interested in terms of live event stuff. Like, for me, I've always focused a lot on the live experience for the fans. So, for instance, it kind of bugged me when we didn't have booths at the TAC 3 finals. I didn't know we weren't going to have those, actually, until, the Tuesday before. But so it's stuff like that kind of bothers me. As far as the league stuff that you were talking about going, the direction they're going anywhere with North America versus Korean only and all that stuff, the fact is that a league that would focus only on North American players, or for instance, I'll just use that, only North American players, won't work because people won't watch it. That's just kind of how it is. Fans want to see the best players, and the best players are in Korea. So if you want to have an organization that gets views and that can be successful, you're going to seek out the best players despite, what you would prefer to have. I'd love to have an opportunity where, there would be more organizations out there that would show more North American content, but the fact is that the players, aren't as good right now, so there's not going to be as many views, and that's what people always look at, when they're talking about sponsorships or spending money on something. They look at how many views can we get, right? And that all has to go back to what players are going to get us those views.
I mean, that point that you just made right there. I mean, I just saw a show match today with Axlab and Destiny that got probably total an aggregate 4,000 or 5,000 views. I mean, concurrents.
That's
So,
small.
I mean,
that's tiny.
It's
That's not many views at all. That's not enough to run a league on, definitely.
Yeah, well, it's true.
Yeah.
That was also just one show match, right? Did I miss the point? Were you talking about 4,000 or 5,000 concurrent viewers?
Yeah, concurrent.
It's a pretty big number for a one show match. I mean,
Online too.
IPL
big
show
for a North
matches.
American show match. What's that?
I said some of the IPL show matches haven't even got that. Some of the,
I haven't. I don't think I remember a Fight Club that's gotten less than at least 9K, if not
Really?
more. Oh yeah, definitely. But
Dude,
anyway,
but
that's
Destiny just needs to get Mia Rose on stream and you can get 11K. I mean,
the other thing. That's the other
Definitely,
thing too, is
That's
that there are
different.
definitely.
Yeah, no,
personalities
I
that'll
completely
bring in
agree with your
viewers,
opinion. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
over
completely
a
agree with your
long-term
opinion.
thing, yeah. I mean, you can always get players, that are the names out there that'll get a lot of viewers and get, good viewership, I guess, for one show match or something like that. But if you want to, again, build a league off it, and remember that's what David is trying to do, is build a lasting esports league, you're going to have to go with what gives you the best viewership.
Right, and I think with the frustration that Key Hunt has, and it's the same for me, is that I have a lot of respect for what David Ting wants to do, and I truly believe that he has a vision in place, and he's smart enough to know that it's not going to be a year from now. It's going to possibly be 5 years before we really have something established. Is that when I first talked with David and I heard all of this, I mean, I was completely excited to see what IPL was going to progressively do. And what happened is it seemed like they just kept changing up their model. And I can understand, maybe in their case what they're doing is they're really trying to find what really works. And hopefully they're keeping stats on all of it, and they're really looking at all of it and analyzing it and trying to find what just works. But it does seem lately that IPL just kind of is doesn't have as much direction as maybe we thought they did. Is that they're a little kind of all over the place. Like they don't know whether they want to run show matches, open events, whether they want to use Playham to run their stuff, challenge, whatever it may be.
Me,
it's messy.
And
it is messy.
To me, don't get me wrong. Like if they're having, if they're just trying to adjust and figure out what works best for them, that's fantastic. As long as it's not hurting them. I'm worrying that them constantly adjusting and having to shift things to make bigger numbers or try to get bigger things is hurting them. We've heard rumors of things coming up where one time it was things were looking really bad, and then right after IPL, I think it was 3, things were looking fantastic. And I don't want to see it die because of the fact that they can't really get their message down pat.
I don't think IPL is going to die anytime soon. Certainly, they definitely won't. As far as the StarCraft 2 side, they did scale back a bit after IPL 4 because of viewership numbers. Mostly, it seemed like to me anyway, and it bugs me, being a StarCraft only person right now. I want to see StarCraft get all the resources that it can get. But right now, for instance, there were a lot of situations where the StarCraft scene would be getting, or a stream would be getting, 8K, 9K, or whatever for a match. And then you'd look at the League of Legends stream that was having, pretty low tier teams, and they'd be like 15, 16,000 on like a Tuesday morning or something like that,
Right.
So if I'm running a league and I'm looking at these 2 streams, I'm like, where do I want to funnel most of my resources? And that's an easy call, right? So it was really challenging and difficult for me, being at IPL, seeing a lot of those resources getting funneled, away from StarCraft. We had a lot of pre-produced content, the top 5s and things like that got cut completely. And hopefully those will come back at some point, for them. But it's again, they have their limited resources as far as, the size of their team, the amount of content that they can produce in a given week. And so it's natural to want to focus that towards what's getting more views. So StarCraft is not going to go away. At IPL, I would be shocked if it ever did. I know David specifically loves StarCraft. It's his favorite game. So he's not going to be getting rid of StarCraft anytime soon. But, I think we may see a little bit smaller events in the future. And again, I'm just kind of speculating now. I'm not with IPL anymore, so I can only make guesses like the rest of you guys. But it seems like it's going to scale back a little bit until probably Heart of the Swarm comes out, and then I think it's probably going to go right back up again because there's going to be a ton of opportunity for a lot of cool content. But I mean, that's just kind of how it is at the moment with StarCraft and IPL. It's going to be a little bit smaller, I think, in the foreseeable future, but hopefully not forever. And it's really not going to die.
Yeah. Well, good answer, Eric. I appreciate it, buddy. I will let you guys go.
All right.
Well,
Thanks,
I want to bring up, just on that question, guys, I want to bring up like a quick point here. A quote FXO Boss one time on one of his blogs. He said, there's many different revenue avenues for esports. There's sponsorship, there's, ad revenue, there's media, there's, events, right? And kind of, but what's the model that works? Hand in everyone's pocket. And I think it's important to know that in esports you have to do a lot of different things, and that there is no business manual for this industry because it's not established yet. It's still an emerging space. And so basically the only way that you really learn is by making mistakes. And the key is surviving to be able to not make those mistakes again. And I think when you look at something like IPL, like they have a bunch of different revenue streams that they're working on. Like they have their broadcast content on Twitch, and they have their own ads running over that stuff, and they have all these different things happening, the live events and everything. But it's important to understand the difference between passive revenue and active revenue. Like active revenue is a sponsor, like comes to you and they give you sponsorship. And they're actively determining a return value per dollar on that sponsorship. In the case of the StarCraft community, the viewer numbers might be less, but those people have a lot more money, a lot more access to cash, and they're a hell of a lot more willing to spend it than they are necessarily like a heavily loaded LOL stream that has a much younger demographic. Those people may or may not have access to money. It's a whole different situation. So you really don't have to, you have to look at the demographic. But what the LOL stream provides you that the StarCraft stream may not is passive revenue, which means when you click the ad button, the advertiser pays based on the metric of viewers, not on their propensity to actually buy anything.
Yep.
So I just wanted to bring those facts out and say, hey, think about those things. There's some things to think about as well. So
yeah, it's kind of CPM versus CPC type of comparison there. But
yep.
I think you mentioned the whole age demographic with StarCraft and League of Legends, and I think that's true that the StarCraft age demographic is a little bit older, a little bit more affluent maybe. and more willing to spend at like events and things like that. But at the same time, numbers-wise, it seems like for live events, we're starting to see more people come out for League of Legends than StarCraft as well. And so when those kids, if they have enough money to get to the event, they're probably going to have enough money to buy a T-shirt or something like that, buy a burger or something from the venue. So
You'd be
I think
surprised
it's
how many
still-
don't eat the whole weekend, though.
Oh, I know. I wouldn't be surprised about that. A burger was a bad example. We'll say buy, I don't know, like an energy drink from a vending machine.
And that's
outside
about it.
or
It's all
something
weekend.
like that, yeah. We'll do that. But so it seems like that's where, people want to funnel some stuff to as well. I really actually hate talking about that because I don't want to sound like doom and gloomy on StarCraft 2 at all, because I think it's not. I feel like overall StarCraft 2, the popularity of it is still growing, and it'll keep growing, with the next few expansions, and it'll be around for a decade, or more, just like Brood War was. But right now, at this moment in esports history, League of Legends is certainly a bigger game. So I think we're going to see a lot of organizations go more towards that than StarCraft 2 for a little while at least.
I think
Yeah, I
everything levels off, Doa. I mean, I don't
I
think
hope so,
StarCraft
eventually.
2 dying. I think it's just leveling, and it's finding its rightful place, and it will grow again, and it will level off again, and
Well,
I think
still
you
growing,
said
yeah.
it'd be fine. It is still growing. I think it will be
You have
fine.
to realize that all these people who are trying to calculate ROI on all this intangible, ethereal stuff, that they're hanging on to any metric that they can. So if it's concurrent viewers on stream, if it's whatever, like number of video hours served, they're going to hang on to those metrics and hold on for dear life. When the reality is, the real metric is value per sponsor dollar spent. That's the only metric that matters, but calculating it is infinitely difficult.
Right. All right, let's pull in another caller here. Balloons.
Balloons.
Hello?
Hey, how's it going, buddy?
Oh, pretty good,
What's
pretty
up?
good.
Welcome to Climbing the Ladder. Do you got a question?
Oh, yeah, I have a question for Sase. From what I understand, you hit your keyboard pretty hard, and I was wondering if you hit your mouse that hard, and how
Yeah.
long a keyboard lasts you, and what keyboard you use. Just so I can use that one, because I know it'll last a long time.
I think 3 months this keyboard lasted. One I had before lasted longer. And my mouse, I had it for 2 weeks. So I told the coach to order five new mice yesterday. So hopefully
Oh my gosh, 2 weeks
wow.
a
What?
mouse? Oh,
Yeah, but
That's a pro gamer, man.
Wow, I'm glad I
No,
asked.
it's just the mouse were not produced 2004 or something. So
oh, it's an
So-
old mouse. Oh,
yeah,
Oh,
but it's
okay.
the only one I can use. So
okay.
Sase
Big quality.
pounds his mouse harder than I've ever seen anyone pound their mouse before, too.
Yeah, Sase plays with 4,500 volts of electricity going through his body. It's like a full body event. But I mean, what keyboard are you using right now, Sase? Is it the Black Widow?
yeah.
Are you changing to the tournament edition, or are you staying with the regular one?
I told you I will use the stealth
Oh,
edition
Black Widow Stealth.
Stealth.
Okay.
Yeah.
with the brown switches.
Yeah,
Are,
Cherry
you, are, your
Brown.
fing- are your fingers really sore after a long practice session, or after a long couple weeks of practicing?
Not really, but actually yesterday my fingers hurt a bit. I don't know why. Maybe because the keyboard is kind of broken, so I had to press harder. And I
I
don't know.
could just see like sausage just pounding the keyboard.
And are you still using the crate, Sase, or did you change mice?
Yeah, no, I'm still using.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, it uses a rare Razer mouse that's actually been discontinued, and it's so
But
funny.
you can buy it in Korea, so it's no problem.
Yeah, there's crates and crates and crates of crates in Korea. People have these boxes of them, right? Because they're so awesome for RTS. And we've been talking to Razer, you guys really need to make another super RTS. It's a really lightweight mouse, no buttons on the side, just
Yeah.
here.
Right.
It's
Cool.
that mouse.
Oh,
So it's so lightweight, and it's just it's now they make mice that are really heavy duty and kind of more for an FPS, I guess, or whatever. I don't know how to describe it, but
All right, Balloons. Thanks, bud.
Thank you.
Thank you, bye.
It's a funny question. All right, see if this Matthew guy's here. Next question. All right. Any of you viewers right now that want to call in, all you have to do is add me on Skype. My Skype ID is ChanmanV, and I'll pull you into the call. This guy's away, so I'm not sure he's going to actually be here. He's probably not here. Alright, well, he's gone. I got, let's see, any other... If you don't have Skype, you can type it in the stream chat too. One of the people from Skype is asking, he doesn't have a mic. Let's see, do you guys have a blacklist of players you will not sign? I guess, Mark, it's kind of directed towards you.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, because, we're so good at signing players that are blacklisted. Well, I mean, I'll say this. I'll say that, and Alex Garfield pointed this out once actually on Complexity or whatever it's called, the executives,
Yep.
that, it's a business decision. When you decide to sign a controversial player or you decide to sign a player that is difficult, that you're taking on something that maybe some other people may or may not want as much or whatever. But you take that risk on because you want to build your brand. And sometimes when your brand is smaller and you want to get traction and you want to move up in the world, you need to do those risks. I think where we are right now, I think that the lower the shock value, the better. If that makes sense. I hope that answers your question.
The lower the shock value, the better.
Right. We're looking
then
for people who have large fan bases, who do well at events but have very low shock. They haven't built that fan base on shock value. They've built that fan base on service to their fans, on being visible and available, and on interacting with their fans in a positive way, and on, of course, their competitive performance. But that that's a really hard thing to find, actually. And I think that when you look at somebody like Violet is a poster child for this, right? And I'm sure John can attest to it's real easy to sell Violet.
Yeah,
Real
pretty
easy to sell Violet. So. And that's because he doesn't have the anti-fans. So let's suppose that you are, well, I don't want to name anybody specifically, but let's suppose that you are XYZ player, and you have 100,000 fans. But then you also have like 100,000 anti-fans. So effectively from a from a sponsor perspective, you have no fans. And in fact, the fact that you have 100,000 anti-fans makes you non-sponsorable largely because from a sponsor perspective, the risk over value ratio is like that for a reason. It's actually risk over value. It's not the other way around. So if you sponsor somebody in esports and they screw up, the screw up can actually cause way more brand damage than you ever sponsoring them could have helped you in the first place. So sponsors are always looking for low risk options.
Yeah, it's like the saying that it takes five good things said about you to erase the one bad thing that was said.
Exactly.
That one negative thing that can happen can actually do a lot more damage than 5 great things that happened.
Yeah, and I'll just to comment on people who wonder specifically about Destiny or Naniwa. I'm just going to say that Naniwa, he we worked with him for such a long time, and he really he's become a lot easier to work with, and he really understands things a lot better than he used to. I think looking at his history, but I mean I have nothing but gratitude for the time I worked with him, and the same with Destiny. I think that Destiny really while he was here, he really was great. I think that whole issue that happened, the one mistake that he made that I wish he hadn't was he went to TL instead of coming to me. If he'd come to me, I think things would have been a lot different. But I mean, I still think he's a really intelligent guy, and I still think he does a great job at serving his fans, something that a lot of people in the industry don't do so well. So.
Right. All right, we got Andrew here. Oops.
Not Andrew, CSN Andrew.
No, not CSN Andrew.
He was the only Andrew in the world.
Andrew, you there?
What's up, Andrew?
Hey, what's up, guys? How y'all doing?
Good. Got a question? Oh, he listened to the stream.
Nah, just a random fan. Yes, you can hear me, right? Yes?
Yes, we can hear
you.
you.
Yeah, we can hear you, man. That's right.
All right, I should probably mute the stream here. Yeah, I was just wondering what you guys would think about, what's going on with whenever Heart of the Storm comes out. What's that? What effect that might have on the community and, basically the new units and such. Because I was playing the, dang it. I need to mute the stream.
Yeah, you need to turn your mic down a little bit, too. You're super loud.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I was playing the Heart of the Swarm custom games, and those Protoss units were just really annoying and seemed imbalanced to me. I was just wondering what you guys think of that. Or just any of the other new units.
I haven't played much of it.
Yeah, honestly,
Kim,
like
Eric,
from
you
my
guys?
perspective, like like Heart of Swarm doesn't even exist. Hossy's gonna tell you the same thing. He's like, the game is not out. I don't play it. But I mean, the thing is, dude, like, it's not here yet. So the competitive people, we're not even worried about it, dude. Like until it drops, it's not real.
That's true. I mean, it's fun to mess around with it, and it's fun to kind of like theory craft and think about it. I enjoyed it a lot. I did a show at IPL for a couple weeks where I just had like pro gamers come or like just random fans come and play on the Heart of the Swarm custom, so we could just kind of mess around with it and see what happened. But yeah, as far as actual balance goes, we have no idea really. We can make a couple broad guesses, but since we don't know what Blizzard is going to change, and there's like no data really to tell us what these new units, how they'll impact the game, it's not really worth worrying about too much until the beta hits, really.
Yeah.
Honestly, go ahead.
One of his questions too was like, what will it do to the community? Do you guys think it will reset things a little bit? Do you think we'll see kind of things get rejuvenated again as far as, who's going to be the best? I mean, will Idra actually get back to where he used to be because he's got something new to play, or things like that? What will it do to the community as a whole?
Yeah, that's a different, because you look at it from my lens, like Idra's way ahead of everybody else, and it doesn't even matter. He doesn't have to win.
Yeah, wow.
I mean, when it first comes out, it's going to be a freaking mess. I mean, it's.
Yeah, I think it's going to be.
It's
going to reset the metagame for everybody. That's going to be the real thing, I think. And Sase, maybe you can comment on this. Do you think everybody's going to be starting over at 0 at Heart of the Swarm? Do you think we're going to have like this 9 to 12 month period where it's like everybody's just experimenting, and there's like people who come out and do really well all of a sudden, and then they disappear forever, or how do you think that transition is going to happen?
I don't know. It's too hard to say. Like, no one can predict things like this. So yeah.
I just feel bad for
there is nothing more to say.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I feel bad for the tournament organizers that, well, hopefully Blizzard will be, like, somewhat, like, will give a lot of advance notice on when it comes out, because I have a feeling some tournament organizers are just going to be caught, like, right when it comes out. They're going to be basically set up to do Wings of Liberty tournaments still, and there's just going to be this crazy influx of, or just this crazy period where they're, like, pros and tournament organizers don't know which game to hold events for, you know what I mean, or which to practice and which to, that type of thing.
Well, I think we're going to be basically waiting to see. I mean, WCS is going to stay on Wings of Liberty until the end, right? Is that what they said?
They probably will, yeah. I would be shocked if they changed it right at the end. I think most tournaments are going to switch over right away because I think Blizzard's going to want to see that, I don't think a lot of tournaments that don't switch to Heart of the Swarm are going to get a lot of Blizzard support. But I don't think a lot of people really want to stand Heart of the Swarm too much either. I mean, or want to stand Wings of Liberty, rather, too much either. I mean, obviously, it's going to be more balanced than Heart of the Swarm will be when it first comes out, most likely. But I think everybody's going to be ready to move on to something a little bit fresh. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. But I think most events will switch over pretty quick.
Cool. All right, Andrew, thanks for the question, bud. He's still there.
Have you checked? There's some questions coming through in chat as well.
Yeah, there was one here that was about, I guess, trolls in esports. It was about people want to help.
Useless tool.
People want to help esports in general. There's a lot of people who are trying to build esports and tackle it with professionalism and business-like mentality. However, the overwhelming majority of its supporters and followers are trolls, and for lack of a better term, childlike, idiotic, which then turns esports into a brand. As a brand, yeah, it hurts.
I have one answer for that. Have you seen pro wrestling fans? Have you seen football fans? Have you seen NASCAR fans? Have you seen fans of like any other sport in the history of mankind? Because it's all basically the same thing. Go on forums for any other sport. Go on comment replies for articles on ESPN, and you will see the exact same thing. So while I think it's like silly, and it's one of the reasons why I don't usually go to Reddit really that much or read through stuff on TL all that much, it's just kind of the way people are, so it's nothing to worry about.
But I think part of his point was too is that some of those same people are the ones trying to make a difference in the industry too. And I may have read it wrong, but that's kind of how I.
Yeah, when you have
Alright.
industry leaders
Oh, I
trolling.
see. I see.
problem.
Okay.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, there's that too. But then again, that is a little bit of a difference between esports and other sports too. Is that there is a little bit more. I guess you could call it permissiveness for content or people saying things that may not be totally acceptable in the public realm in other sports and all that. And
Yeah,
I
but
don't know,
when you come out and you're like, hey, not everybody needs to know everything because not everything's public, and there's some things that fans just don't need to know about.
Mhm.
Like it's like that seems like a realistic policy based on an entertainment industry, right?
I think
But
a
then
lot
there's
of
like
people.
this whole question about like people saying, well, I speak my mind and I'm respected for that because I just go out and I say whatever I want to say, like I go off and I rant and I swear and I say all this kind of bullshit, like fuck Halo and fuck this and fuck that, and I mean, and that's cool. I mean, people, sometimes people watch, sometimes people don't. It just depends on the person, I guess, or who's doing it. But I think the real question is, like, so what? Is that really adding to the content? I mean, it doesn't really, it doesn't really do anything, I guess. And like, and look, I mean, I've always been a person who's been real, like, swore with my friends and stuff like that a lot too. I mean, so what? It doesn't matter. But I mean, I guess the real point is, when you're looking at these kind of shows and these kind of audiences, I think if you offend anybody, it's bad, right? If you say anything, no matter how true it is, like look at what Scoot said about me. Like, it's not true, but if it was true, so what? People were offended. That was dumb. Like, you shouldn't do that. The same thing with like Destiny. Destiny says things that offend people. Like, don't say that shit. Like, it's a stupid thing to do, right?
It's part of his appeal, though. I mean,
Well,
I know what you mean.
yeah, but I mean, he's
it's
got the
part-
fans now, so he doesn't need to keep doing it,
Well, some
Wow.
of those
That's
fans,
like telling Howard Stern he can't
exactly.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's
I
why they
guess so.
still. That's why they're still fans. I mean,
Hey, there's a question here in the chat about what about the Twitch subscriber
yeah. Let
only.
me address that one. Actually, I'd like to address that one. CypherX. I'm going to pull on a couple more callers here in a second too, but I do want to address that one. So CypherX says, do you have any opinion on Twitch TV subscriber-only chat being used as a way to bully viewers into subscribing even if they can't afford it? Deny enabling subscribers only to chat with 20K viewers in his channel, for example. The chat was completely dead for hours, so don't say it's used to help moderate chat, please. So I don't know if it's a way of bullying people. I mean, I think,
Well, I mean, like saying, turning on subscriber only chat bullies people into getting subscriptions is like saying that Riot, doesn't let people use any skin they want because they want
Yeah,
to bully people into
exactly.
buying Riot points. It's just part of the business. I mean,
Kevin Lynn-
some things in life cost money, and that's just it.
Kevin Lynn gave me the best argument for this ever one time, and I'm going to repeat it, but I'm going to totally credit it to Kevin Lynn from Twitch TV. He said, if you pay $100 and something every month for your cable TV service, and you really only actually watch primarily like 4 to 5 channels, you're actually paying $36 per channel per month.
right?
If you spend a lot of time watching Day 9, and he's asking you for $5, get over it. That's a deal.
Yeah, I mean,
It's-
I'll even speak from the standpoint of, I actually have I didn't even qualify. I don't even qualify for the Twitch the subscriber button yet. So I kind of made my own, and like the kind of logic between me making it, and I could actually make the price lower. It's just I just did the $4.99 because everybody else is doing it. Is that like, for me, it's not so much about making revenue, which is nice. I mean, revenue, helps support just everything we do with shows, with Day 9 and this show and everything too. So that's one thing. But also, it's a way to create this kind of, this level of service, I guess, that you can't really create if you don't create a system to differentiate like folks that either pay or maybe even people that pay that have been following your show for a long time. Like it's like for me, like what if I wanted to do something on Pro Corner that's only for folks that are huge fans of my show. They've been following it forever now, and I wanted to do something that's just isolated for those folks, right? Not just folks that just tuned in for the first time. I need something like this, some kind of subscription model, I think, to do it. Now, how much it costs, you can make a debate about that, but a lot of these folks, that's all they're doing for a living too. I mean, thankfully that's not the case for me, but for Day 9 and a lot of those other folks that are streaming and they have these subscriptions, that's how they make money. So if you enjoy their content, I don't think there's anything wrong with asking for it. Like you just said, I mean, $5 is pretty cheap for if you watch hours and hours of like Destiny stream or Day Night stream and that kind of thing.
hmm Yeah, I think the subscription thing is perfectly fine. I mean, it's going to be kind of an inevitability with the industry as well, too. It's just people are naturally going to want to make money from it if they can. I mean, it's pretty normal stuff for any growing industry. So I don't think it's a big deal, that you would turn off chat for anyone during a big event like that. If you wanted to use the occasion to try to boost yourself. I would actually wonder if maybe IEM asked him to do that as well. I have no idea, but I would kind of be curious to ask him and find out. But
I mean,
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Personally.
Every business has the right to refuse its service to anyone. Period.
Yeah.
So anybody who's in there like saying America was built on freedom of speech and blah 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 blah, America was built on capitalism too. So
very, very true. Very true. All right.
hey, I have a question I want to answer real quick, Chris.
All right.
Maximus Black was brought on as a media personality, and the goal is to help him achieve pro player status. But he's not a pro player on Quantic's team, if that makes sense. So you can clear that right up.
All right. All right. Let's take 2 more calls and we'll call it a night.
Sure.
This guy's been waiting for a long time, so I got Vignesh Khan.
Teletubbies.
Hey, buddy, you there?
Yeah. Hello?
Hey, welcome to Climbing the Ladder.
Oh, hi. First off, I'd like to thank all of you guys for the great show.
Thank you.
I have a question regarding the future of StarCraft growth, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it. How do you think, especially in Korea, StarCraft will fare with the rise of LoL? Because when I saw the GSL finals, it seemed like there are a lot of empty seats, even though they held it in such a grand venue. Whereas in all the LoL OGN venues, it seems extremely packed. Do you think this is going to have a negative effect on StarCraft in the foreign community?
Can I answer that one?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I think that's a good question because it's a really, really interesting situation actually right now in Korea as far as esports goes, where League of Legends is the biggest game. It's bigger than StarCraft 2, no doubt about it right now. I don't think that you can really use the most recent GSL finals as a good litmus test for that, though. There are a lot of factors into what I think made that look a little bit less populated than it maybe was. The finals before that packed, I think they had something like 5,000 seats and they filled them all, and then they actually had to bring out more chairs for people who had to sit out in the lobby with screens and things like that. So the last finals right before that, they packed it. They filled it up way over capacity. So the question is, why did that one do so well and this one, not
didn't.
so much? But they didn't? You were there?
Yeah, you mean the one
okay.
MVP won over Squirtle?
Yeah, that was the last one,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, that one
packed,
looked
but
pretty packed, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was packed for sure, but I don't think there was like 5K people or whatever.
Oh.
Maybe.
That's a number I was told, so that was what I was going by. But
At
does it
least-
seem like there were more people at that one than at the Busan one?
I didn't look at the Busan audience, but like I think it's obvious how they like. Either it's a lot of people, and that's when they bring the K-pop stars, and if they don't bring the K-pop stars, there is not a lot of people.
Yeah,
So
that's definitely true too.
It's obvious. Yeah, it has been the same in China for Warcraft tournaments, except for one, which was really good, and I think when I played E-Stars in Seoul 2008, like. First day it was like opening ceremony and some matches, and they brought some stars and it was packed. Next day it was Warcraft, there was like 10 people there. The third day they had the Brood War playing, it was packed. Then the last day it was Counter-Strike and there was like 10 people again. So
See, that's what David needs to do in Sundance. And he needs to, they need to hire I don't know.
I know
Should they
David
hire-
wanted to bring in K-pop acts for a while, but the cost was prohibitive, so we'll see what happens.
Gangnam Style. That's what we need to do.
Exactly, man.
You never know, but that definitely does help. I've seen that too, where finals that have like there was one finals, I think it was MVP versus Top, where A-Pink came and performed, and there were a lot of A-Pink fans there as well as a lot of StarCraft fans like chanting with the songs and everything. It was pretty crazy. But I think the finals down in Busan too. It's a long way away from Seoul, and also the summers are just brutally hot and humid over there too. So I don't think a lot of people really want to be outside for something like that. So I think that kind of hurt a little bit too. But as far as how that relates to LoL, I mean, LoL's just simply a bigger game right now. But my question is, will League of Legends continue to be a bigger game than StarCraft 2? That I'm not so sure about. Does LoL? I mean, right now LoL is in sort of like it's emerging, novelty stage. The game's been around for a couple of years, but as an esport that a lot of the public watches, it's still fairly new. So, will this big boom that LoL is seeing last? I feel like we kind of saw something a little bit similar when StarCraft came out. Not to the same extent as LoL, but still a little bit of the same thing. So in like 2 or 3 years, when LoL has like 600 different champions or something like that, and obviously I'm just joking, they're not going to have that many, but, what in the future, will League of Legends have the momentum to carry on as it is right now, or will StarCraft kind of come up and overtake it? And I'm curious to see what happens. I honestly can't predict it either way. I am a big StarCraft fan first and foremost, so I'm rooting for that, obviously. But we'll see. Right now, League of Legends is bigger, but this is only right now. We don't know what's going to happen 3 years from now.
Actually, I have a kind of a quick second follow-up.
Sure.
With Heart of the Swarms, there seems to be kind of two sides. Like, Blizzard wants to cater to a lot more casuals, it seems, because of the design of the new units, especially with things like the Warhound. I've seen a lot of criticism that kind of say that they're making the game easier to play to cater to more people, but then they're kind of alienating the more hardcore gamers that want to see a higher skill cap to play the game. What are your thoughts on that? How can Blizzard make the expansion to kind of appease both groups?
Well, I want to turn that question at Sase, actually.
Yeah.
Sase, do you think that Heart of the Swarm is going to be harder than the Wings of Liberty, easier, or about the same, based on what you've seen so far?
Obviously harder because there is more things to do. So.
And do you think it's because there's going to be more caster units, or just simply more to learn? Like, why do you think it's going to be harder?
Because Protoss was the worst race in Brood War, and it was the worst race in Wings of Liberty, so it will obviously be the worst race in the format. So it's just going to be way harder to play.
So there you go. It'll be harder. I agree with Sase too. I think the game is
Yeah,
going to be harder because not only do you have the same things that you had in Wings of Liberty, you're going to have even more. And a lot of those new units, unlike the Warhound, are caster units too, which just by their nature are a little bit more difficult to use because not only do you have to, you can't just micro just the unit itself. You have to be microing and you have to be casting spells at the same time. Mm-hmm. So we don't know how much those units are actually going to be used or anything like that. But generally, I feel like the game, and Sase definitely said this too, is going to be harder when it comes out. So yeah, I'm not worried about Blizzard, catering to the casuals or anything like that.
And you have to realize one of the beauties of StarCraft is that it's played in the competitive scene just like it's played casually. And I think that's like one of the areas that Call of Duty struggles with because it's like played by so many people, but the competitive game is so differently played than it is played like just on your Xbox, right? And I think that if these units allow more people to play the game at lower league levels, like that's the thing. When you start playing StarCraft in Bronze League and you can't get out of Bronze League and you're like, fuck it, like I'm out, right? But I mean, if you can actually if people at the lower leagues can actually enjoy the game more, then they're certainly going to be more inclined to get involved with watching it and all that kind of stuff. Not to say that there's a lot of people who watch it who don't play it. That's not to say at all. Like I've seen a lot of people who are really involved in esports who don't play this game at all.
Yeah,
so,
that's the one thing about StarCraft. I mean, that's the one thing about esports in general, right? And like all the viewers right now are primarily users, and StarCraft probably has probably the most viewers that don't play the game because I think because StarCraft has just evolved to the to the point where it can get it's not like a ton of people, but it does have some of those people. But League, for instance, is almost all the viewers I think are folks that play League, and because the League usership is so huge that it's like what it's like shoot I mean it's like 100x not 100x maybe like what's the stat now? It's like 60x 50x or something like StarCraft users at this point. So I mean that's why the numbers look so crazy right now. And so anyways, getting back to I guess your question on whether it's good to just you have to make it appeal. You know, at this point, at least at this stage of esports, you have to make a game appealing to as many people as possible, or else it won't be successful. Period. Right. So.
I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know, a lot of the criticism, like Wings of Liberty criticism, was that, oh, it's just so easy to macro in Wings of Liberty versus like Brood War, right? Oh, so like it's just the.
Are you serious?
I
That's
guess
still
the
not
skill
true,
difference-
man. With the
the
2 and
skill
3 base
gap.
timings, come on.
No, I mean, just
There's so many all-ins in StarCraft 2 that there weren't in our StarCraft 1. It's not even fun.
Can we take the next question? Go.
yeah, okay.
We've been
All
talking.
right, thank you very much,
about
guys.
Yep, thanks.
Thank you too.
Yeah, and last one. Is it? Oops, I need to take this guy out.
Took him out.
Took him out. All right, if he's not there, then that's going to be it, guys, for the night. Thanks for all
He's
those
not
questions.
answering.
All right, well, let's close out the show then. Thanks everybody for calling in, asking questions on stream chat. But let's finish out with some shout-outs. Let me start with you, Kim. Any shout-outs?
Okay, shout out to everyone watching my stream, and I will go stream right now. I can't wait until stream. I just want to go stream.
Yep, go check out his stream, twitch.tv/QuanticSaSe.
Hello, Sase.
Oh, hello, Sase. Hello, Sase. All right, Eric?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on the show. It's
Yeah.
a lot of fun. Thanks to my team, It's GoSu and all that, and their sponsors, which is Max Frag, Max Integration, NOS Energy Drink, Own 3D, and Razer, of course. And so, yeah, thanks to all them. And thanks for watching my stuff, guys. Hopefully you'll continue watching me in Korea at OGN. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I actually bought check it out, I bought a GoPro camera. See, it's right here.
What is
I'm going to
that?
be filming a lot of cool behind-the-scenes stuff in Korea, not just like StarCraft, but I want to do a lot of like sort of like video documentary blogging stuff as well. So look forward to that too.
Cool.
Thanks a lot.
Sounds fun.
Sick.
All right, Mark, you're up.
Just want to shout out to our sponsors, Razer, Twitch TV, DB Vision, Machinima Versus, and Asus Republic of Gamers, and also to the Fellowship of the Bouses.
John?
A shout out to my pillow that I will soon see because it's freaking late and I'm an old man. No, shout out to all my staff at CSN as always. Shout out to you guys and to those that have been on the show tonight, and a shout out to all of those that tuned in because you're the reason we keep doing it. So I appreciate that.
All right, guys, and I just want to thank Kim and Eric for being on. I think it was really great having you guys on. And Kim, I've been trying to get with you to be on like Pro Corner or Climbing Ladder for a while, so I'm happy that we finally figured out a time to get you on. And Eric, obviously catching you before you go to Korea, I think was good timing. But John, Mark, always great co-hosting with you guys, and all the viewers. Thanks for watching. VODs will be up by tomorrow for sure on Machinima Versus and on my channel. So check out either for the VODs. And next week we're going to do our first League of Legends show. Like not League of Legends only, but more definitely more League of Legends centric than StarCraft 2. So we'll have Mike Chapman from Curse and probably Wombat on here. As well, who's a caster.
And listen, if you have not heard Wombat before,
that's awesome.
Whether you like League of Legends or not, I assure you, it is definitely worth tuning into. Just hearing his voice alone is worth hearing.
Well, Wombat was a StarCraft 2 guy too for a long time. So I mean, some of you guys might know him from the StarCraft 2 scene. So he's kind of transitioned over to League. So that'll be a really, really fun show. He's a funny guy. Gosh. But other than that, Thursday, Cloud's going to be on Pro Corner, so check that out. But that's going to be it for Climbing Ladder this week. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace.
See you.